I the jerk for not caring that I was uninvited to my brother's wedding? This whole thing is so weird. I am a 27-year-old male, and I am gay. I came out at 16, and my parents told me they would always love me, but to not mention it to my older brother, who I'll call Brick, then 19 years old and now 30 years old. When I was confused and asked why, they said that Brick had expressed some awful opinions about gay people. I limited talking to Brick until I moved out at 18, which wasn't much of a problem because we were never close. I went to university, got a good job, and an awesome boyfriend, who is 28 years old in my home city. My boyfriend, Angel, and I live a peaceful life. This was peaceful until a few days ago when I got a call from my brother. I was concerned that Brick was calling me, as we have never messaged before, and just had each other's numbers for emergency purposes. I picked up because maybe there was some emergency happening. He opened the call with an annoyed "Hey man," and I knew something was up. He said he was getting married to his fiancée Yen, who is 24 years old next year. I didn't even know he had a girlfriend. I was like, "That's great, Brick," and asked some boring wedding things that he begrudgingly answered. He then told me invites were being sent out in a couple of weeks and that I could bring a +1. Here's where I made the mistake that started this mess. Without thinking like an idiot, I said, "Cool, I'll bring my boyfriend." Major mess up. Brick immediately started yelling insults down the line, screaming that he wouldn't have a "yay-f" slur at his wedding. I didn't say anything and just hung up. I was rattled by hearing those words from my own brother's mouth, even though I knew his feelings about people like me. I told Angel, and he comforted me, ordering in from my favorite restaurant and watching movies with me, which was awesome. We went to bed later and I felt alright the next day. I sent my parents a message that Brick invited me and uninvited me from his wedding pretty much in the same breath, and went on my way to work, not having a clue of the crap storm waiting for me when I got off. When I turned my phone on again after my shift, it was blowing up. There were messages and calls from my parents and relatives galore asking me what happened. I phoned my parents back when I got home and gave them the rundown of what happened, and said I honestly didn't care because it's not like Brick would be coming to my wedding anyways. My parents immediately chastised me for my obvious disinterest and disregard of my brother's life, and told me I should be apologizing to him for bringing my personal life into his wedding. What? I basically told my parents to screw off and have been getting bombarded with messages from relatives to apologize to my brother and get my invite reinstated, and apologize to my parents for disrespecting them, but I really don't want to. Angel is reassuring me that I did nothing wrong, but it's still nagging me. Am I the asshole? Angel is 100% right. You have done nothing wrong. If he's a homophobe and the family condones his homophobia, they're enabling it, and the wedding will have a homophobic attitude. Your parents warned you about Brick, which proved sadly true since the moment he realized it, he went straight to the slurs. Am I the jerk for refusing to go to my mother-in-law's house unless she confirms 2 weeks in advance to avoid her canceling on us last minute, as has happened before? I, a 39-year-old female, am married to my 42-year-old husband. We have been married for 10 years, and my mother-in-law has always been a problem. He is an only son, and she lives 2 hours away from us. She always plays these power games where she complains over the phone that we do not visit her, but then she never allows us to visit. In 2 weeks, we will have some vacation days, and my husband would like to visit her. He asked her over the phone and she said she would think about it. She always does this and sometimes confirms the day before or even just a few hours in advance. We then need to rush to pack the car and go. Sometimes she refuses at the last minute, and we cannot book somewhere nice to go instead. She does the same if we invite her to our house. She will not confirm until the last minute, so we cannot make other plans with friends. Sometimes I prepare the guest room, and she simply decides not to come. Since last year, I told my husband I am done with preparing any guest room or making any arrangements for her in our house, as I feel she does not respect us. It also happens that she does not call in advance and simply arrives here. If we are not home, she demands we return. Last time this happened, I told my husband there was no way we would go home. We were 30 minutes away in another town to go to a movie and dinner in a nice restaurant. We did not go home and she was really upset with him. My father-in-law does not take any action. He just does what his wife says. She has no friends or other family around, so she is always alone with my father-in-law at their house. When I go there, she cooks for us and does all the chores because she does not allow me to move around the house. I am not able to enter the kitchen. I just go to the dining room, bedroom, and bathroom. She has a heavy burden of work because she does all the cooking and cleaning when we are there, but it is her choice. This time, I told my husband that either she confirms by the end of this week that we are allowed to go to her house, or I will book some days off in a nice hotel in advance. I do not care if she then says at the last minute that we can go. My husband is upset and says I am the asshole because we should understand she is old and complicated and go along with what she wants. So Reddit, am I the asshole? You are not in the wrong here. She is playing some stupid power games with you, and a hard boundary needs to be set. Give her a clear deadline to confirm plans, like, we need to know by the 5th, or we will make other plans. Your husband needs to stand with you on this, or she'll keep pitting you two against each other. If she cancels at the last minute without a reasonable excuse, skip the next visit to show her that these games won't be tolerated. Am I the jerk for telling my husband's ex that I must have been the favorite girlfriend since he married me? Okay, so my husband and I have been off and on since we were 12, broke up at 22, took a 17-year break, and got back together 3 years ago. We have been married for a little over 2 years. He spent almost 3 years with an ex, and they broke up about 10 years ago. The ex, who I will call Patty, and my husband Doug broke up on good terms. She will reach out occasionally to say happy birthday, Merry Christmas, and she reached out to give us her congratulations when she heard we were getting married. Saturday night, we went to the local bar, and she happened to be there. We all sat together drinking, talking, and just hanging out. I was 3 Jack and Cokes in, and I cannot remember how it got brought up, but Patty said, "Well, at least I will always be your favorite girlfriend." I laughed and said, "Wouldn't I be his favorite girlfriend since I'm the one he married?" She stopped smiling and just looked at me. She finished her drink and left not long after that. Last night, Doug got a long message from Patty. She said she was really shocked at how jealous, immature, petty, and mean I am given my age. She said I should be more secure in our marriage and in myself, and that it's okay for Doug to care about others besides just me. She also told him how much him telling her she was his favorite girlfriend all those years ago had always meant to her, and that she could not understand why I had to undermine it. Doug told her he was sorry that what I said upset her, but that I was just stating a fact. I was the favorite girlfriend, and that's a huge reason he married me. She sent back another long text saying that I think I'm better than her because Doug had a very firm stance that he would never marry. He didn't care if he had a gun to his head. It wouldn't happen. When we reconnected this time, he asked me to marry him after a month, and we married after 8.5 months. Doug told her that it wasn't true, that I don't think I'm better than anyone, and said again he was sorry she was hurt. He also told her the things she was saying about me aren't true, and asked her not to speak about me like that again. I truly never in a million years would want to hurt anyone's feelings. I said I was his favorite because I feel like you marry your favorite person, don't you? Why would you marry someone who isn't your favorite? So, am I the asshole here? Doug told me it's not in any way on me that she got hurt. My best friend said that I didn't say anything that wasn't true, and thinks maybe Patty is going through some stuff or just went through a breakup and is taking it out on me. You are not at fault here. It's really odd that she brought it up at all, and making a huge deal when corrected just makes it weirder. She's clearly having a hard time accepting that you broke her delusion of being his favorite, even though he's marrying you. What did she expect? For him to admit she was still his favorite? Am I the jerk for telling a parent that their kid is weird when she pushed as to why my kid didn't want to be her friend? My family and I have moved states. It has been a hard move, especially for my oldest daughter, Caddy. She is in 6th grade. The area's school district has a Facebook account that parents are a part of. I introduced myself on there a while ago. We put Caddy on the cross-country team, and she has been making friends over the summer. I got a message from a parent last week, asking to meet up and let the kids meet. They would be in the same grade, and I thought it would be a good opportunity. We went yesterday to the local pool. I met Melanie, and she wouldn't make eye contact, was very soft-spoken, and overall didn't seem to be paying attention. The kids were playing while I talked to the mom. She has always been in the area, and was excited her child was getting a friend. Caddy came up to me asking to leave since she wasn't feeling well. We left early, and in the car, she admitted to just wanting to get away from Melanie. She explained that Melanie freaked her out. Melanie was very touchy, kept pushing her in the water, was whispering, saying things under her breath, and would stare at people and make comments comparing people to bugs. Caddy told me she was uncomfortable and doesn't want to hang out with her again. The parent messaged me and asked when they could do it again. I told her the girls didn't mesh well and that we would have to decline. She then called me asking what I meant. I told her that Caddy wasn't interested in hanging out since they don't mesh together. I was trying to be polite about it. This went on for a while, and she told me that the kids just needed to be around each other more. I told her no to that. It went on for a while, and she asked to talk to my husband, which is when I snapped. I told her no and that I was trying to be polite, but her child is weird. Melanie makes my child uncomfortable, and I don't know what the hell is up with her, but we will not have another play date. She went on Facebook and is going around about how the new family are jerks. It seems to not be going anywhere, but I am wondering if I was a jerk. Nothing you have done here makes me think you are the jerk. You respected your daughter's wishes and defended her, which is what any good parent should do. The mom wouldn't let it go and tried going over your head by wanting to talk with your husband, which is just ridiculous. It's no wonder her daughter doesn't have many friends with a mom like that. Blocking her sounds like a good idea. Life's too short to deal with such nonsense. Am I the jerk for taking the money from selling my grandparents' home and not sharing it with my cousins? I, a 25-year-old female, have an older brother who is a 26-year-old male. It is just the two of us, with no other siblings. My mother is the oldest of 2 children and has a younger brother who is a deadbeat father to his 6 children. When my grandparents were alive, they bought a big house with 7 bedrooms and a lake view in the 1970s. My grandfather only paid the $5,000 down payment before he had to quit his job due to a sudden stroke. My mother took up the responsibility of paying for the house and my grandfather's medical expenses. My grandmother was a stay-at-home wife and unemployed. My mother worked part-time while working towards getting a degree and landed a great job with amazing perks, which included medical insurance for my grandfather. My uncle got my aunt pregnant at 17 and continued to have 6 more children in 12 years before cheating on her, divorcing her, and marrying the mistress. My aunt was a poor girl with no support from her family. My grandmother took pity and asked her and my cousins to move in. My mother continued to pay the bills, mortgage, kids' basic needs, and insurance. My aunt never offered to pay even when her father died and left her some money. My uncle only came back home when he wanted money from my grandmother. The children are now adults, all older than me, and 4 out of 6 of them have good jobs. No one in the past decade has ever contributed to the upkeep and bills. 5 of them have moved out, but my aunt and her youngest still live there. Now the problem arises. Since both my grandparents have passed, my mom wants to sell the house. The house is in her name because my grandfather sold it to her when he couldn't afford it anymore. The house is legally and wholly hers, and she wants to put it on the market. The house's value can go up to $3.70 million after numerous renovations funded by my parents. My cousins heard about this and started hounding my mom via calls and texts, arguing that it isn't fair that they weren't included in the discussion to sell the house and that their mother and sibling have to find someplace else to live. My mom suggested they live with the oldest cousin since she just bought a 4-bedroom home. Initially, out of the goodness of her heart, my mom wanted to give them a cut of the profit. However, because they were being rude and causing problems, she wants to take the whole profit and put it in my brother's and my trust funds. The cousins found this out when one of them, who was still in my mom's good graces, visited our home and found the paperwork on her desk. My mom is the neatest and tidiest person I know. She doesn't leave anything on her desk. That cousin must have searched for it. They are now taking this to the extended family's group chat, arguing that it is unfair and that my grandparents wouldn't have wanted this for them. A lot of people are rallying behind them and demonizing us now. You are not in the wrong. The house is your mother's. She paid for it and can do what she wants with it. Your mother has no legal, ethical, or moral responsibility to give them anything. Giving them money at this point won't fix their larger problems and could actually do more harm than good. Am I the jerk for labeling my child's school supplies and informing their next teacher they are not to be shared with their stepsibling? My son is not back in school yet, but I was contacted by his teacher for the next grade, asking if I had bought him all the required items and to inquire about any donated class supplies. While we were talking, I told her that I had labeled my son's supplies and did not want him forced to share those with his stepsister, not my stepchild, my ex's. I also made it clear I was not counting the donated class supplies I would be giving, but just my son's personal ones. Last grade, it was a constant issue, and the teacher ignored me because it was not stated at the start of the year. So, I got ahead this year. His teacher said she made a note of it and would not make him share. My ex and his wife were contacted also. His wife was contacted about her 2 children, a daughter and a younger son. My ex was contacted about our son. His wife apparently told the teacher her daughter's supplies would be shared by my son. The teacher corrected them and said my son must have his own because class supplies cannot substitute for him the entire year. This was followed by my ex calling to say they could not afford to do this. He said it was bad enough finding stuff for the children to use when my son was leaving his supplies in the cubby at school, so they could not be used by all the children. But now the school is saying they cannot be divided between the 2 children and that I am a selfish person for that. He said they are family and it should not be this big of an issue. I told him I was not responsible for providing for his stepchildren. If they cannot afford them, then it is not my problem. He told me his stepdaughter will suffer, and I told him I do not care. It is not my job to make sure she and her brother are provided for. I told him that I ended up spending way more than expected on supplies last year when our son was forced to share. My ex's wife reached out and told me I should be ashamed. She said I should be more willing to let the sharing happen. They are siblings and belong to the same family. She said it is unfair to let an innocent child suffer. I told her that if she cannot afford to buy her children supplies, she should find their fathers and ask. It is not fair to expect me, who has nothing to do with her children, to support them. For context, my son is 8 years old. His stepsister is also 8 years old, or literally about to turn 8, and his stepbrother is 5 or 6 years old. My son was not willingly sharing the supplies. He was forced to by his teacher, and he hated it because she did ruin some of his best supplies, especially crayons and colored pencils, but also his sharpener. I do not think it was intentional. It seems like she is just rougher with stuff. My ex and his wife say I am an ass and should feel ashamed for willingly letting a child in the family suffer and for being petty about school supplies. Am I the asshole? You are not the jerk. Why would you be obligated to buy supplies for another kid? Her parent could contact the school directly, and I'm sure they'd help with getting supplies. Think of the kids! Doesn't fly when she's trying to pin responsibility onto other people. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.